Good night. It is Friday again, another weekend, and I'm batching it this weekend. The wife's gone. I'm all alone, so I can do anything I want to, which will probably be mostly sleeping late and getting up late. But here we are, Stunthangar Aero Modeling Hangouts, and it's February 16th, 2018. And welcome back for another Friday of talking about aero modeling or anything else that takes tools to play with. And um, we do anything but politics, keep it kind of living room friendly, but on a Friday night, forgive us if we drop a F bomb or two. And hopefully, we've got the chat box on YouTube working again. I'm sitting here looking at it, and it's empty, and I don't have any viewers yet. And as soon as I see that we've got some viewers popping in, I'll see if we can get anybody to talk with us, because we like to incorporate those conversations into our video chat. Y'all are a really valued part of the group, so don't feel the slightest bit left out if we're having technical difficulties with it, or if for some reason you can't log in, we'll figure out the problem. And we never can tell if it's part of YouTube, Google, or I guess that would be the GoogTube, or not. But we're running unlisted now, so you have to get the links from Stunthangar, and I posted those in the At the Bench thread on Stunthangar. And if you hear me talking, then you obviously know that. Hopefully the word is spreading, because we want to pick up some of our guests that have been kind of AWOL for a little while, and they seem to be gradually coming back. More people are figuring it out, but that's it. You got to go to be a member of Stunthangar. You got to go to the live streaming / at the bench thread, and the link to come into this video chat, and also the link to get into the YouTube watch page where the text box, chat box is. And so here we are. It's been a pretty good week, actually. The weather's been nice. Spring is coming. Some of the plants are starting to bloom. And let's see, we got daffodils popping up, spireas blooming, baby's breath. The yard's starting to look a little bit nice again. It'll still be a few weeks, but the Bradford pears will be popping out in a week or two, and then after that, probably in about 3 or 4 weeks, the dogwoods will start popping out. Everybody thinks Bradford pears are dogwoods, but they're not. They just look sort of similar at first glance. Still no viewers, but I'll just blabber until we do get some. We are going to hopefully get Terry on here tonight with a show and tell, and I think he's got a pretty good show for us. So we'll see what he's got. I got some kind of random show and tell files in a folder that I'd like to show everybody. I've been holding on to them until the time's right, and we'll do that. So we got a couple of things lined up. And let's see what else. Oh, yes, I'm back in business. I've started getting out to the shop again. I actually can make the trip from the house out to the shop on my lame leg without getting worn out, without stumbling and tripping. And I'm starting to walk around without my cane at all. Usually carry it, because if I trip, I sure want it to catch myself. But things are moving along. I'm working at a pretty good pace, so I think I'm going to be back. I've been working on the Cardinal out in the shop a couple of nights. I've had about 3 sessions with it since last Sunday, and of course, I go out there and work a little bit until I do something stupid, and then pack out and come back another day. I think the last thing I did out there last night was I was test fitting my engine so I could get the nose ring and all glued in place, and then I decided it was a good time to get a little bit of CA under the blind nuts on the inboard face of the doublers. And so I left about a 32nd of an inch gap under each one and put a drop of what I thought was thick enough CA to where it wouldn't run everywhere. And the next thing I knew, I had glued the blind nut to the screw. The glue traveled down the hole through the fuselage into the engine and glued the bolt head to the engine tab. And that sucker is Loctite brand 10-second CA. And that sucker's on there good. Man, I couldn't bust it loose for anything. I got the blind nut off of it though. So I'll talk to these guys tonight about how to get that bolt out of there. I'm thinking that it's just glued to the tab. I hadn't actually got the vice grips out and tried to turn the head of it. Last night I was had already done that and was thinking about putting the big pliers to it and decided it was time to quit. Whenever you start getting the big pliers out after you make a mistake like that, then it's time to quit. Man, we don't have any viewers yet. I'm going to have to entertain myself for a while here. Let me double check over on Stunthangar, make sure that I posted the show. And yep, I did. Let me go to full screen and see what we got. Yep, there she is, tonight's thread with the link to you and me. All right, so we're good. I'll go back, put the chat box in its place like it was. And it's still empty, of course. So, well, I guess I'll have a relaxing Friday if I don't have anybody to talk to. Let me see if something else is going on here. Maybe I'm supposed to push this other button. I don't think so. It says waiting for Stunthangar. Let me back up. Do something I didn't do that I usually do. I didn't start the watch page. Here we go. Somebody's coming in. And that's Gerald. Hey, Gerald, how are you? Oh, you got to open your microphone there.
Hi, Rusty.
Hey, Gerald, how are you?
You're my first
visitor tonight. Good to see you. Did you have a good week? Did you have a good week?
A good week. A good week, except I got my son's cold, and
it's
not the best thing. No, at least you can't catch it from where you are anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I just got over one, so my immune system's probably jacked up against it right now. But I caught Holly's cold the other week, and it turned out to be about a 14-day cold, and it was just mostly from here to here, and I can still feel soreness right there when I tap. So I still have to cough a little bit, but that cough hangs on a long time after the cold's really gone. But I feel good other than that. And I've been walking around without the cane a pretty good bit, so I'm moving right along. I'm happy about that. I've put about 6 hours out in the shop lately, and so yeah, I'm back in business more or less. Did you hear me talking at all before you signed in?
I did. Yep.
You hear me talking about gluing the bolt to the the blind nut and all that?
I missed it. Sorry, no, I missed it. But it happens though. I know it's easy to. I'm just going to try and plug my other microphone in. But
yeah, you're kind of hard to understand, but not too bad.
I'll try swapping over. I'll go over to my Logitech one.
Oh, there, man, that's crystal clear. Good.
Okay.
Much better. Yeah, okay. Yeah, a whole lot better. Is mine the right volume? I was messing with the controls and wasn't sure.
That's good. It's good. You're quite clear.
Okay, good. Nobody's hit the chat box yet. I was just messing around. If you'll bear with me for just a minute, I'm going to see if I can get some more action out of that. I don't know what's up. People can't seem to log into it. You're going to start hearing my echo for a second. Messing around. If you'll bear with me for just Okay, now go full screen and okay, I got that paused and the chat has popped out. Okay, we'll leave it like that and see how it works. That's reloading now. And the screen, YouTube has changed something because that chat box screen looks completely different. I'm not used to having the video right on top of it. Let me type something. Hello, YouTubers. Boom. Okay, I can type into it. We'll see if anybody else can. Mike Lineky was able to the other night, but nobody else seemed to be able.
So you can't do it while you're live on Stunthangar. You've got to be on YouTube to be able to use the chat box, aren't you?
Yes. I think that's right. Yeah, if you were to click in here from the Stunthangar thread where the where the video box is shown, you could go down to the bottom and click view on YouTube, and that would take you to the page where the chat box is. And then you should be able, theoretically, to use the chat box that way. We'll see if anybody does it. Anybody that's coming in here is going through that page, so they can't miss it if they'll just try it.
Because it does show the group chat live on here, but it doesn't. It just shows who's actually involved, but it doesn't show the actual conversations.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know if there's any way to make more use out of that or not. Every time I read about Google Hangouts, just searching for information, I find out something new that I can do. And I might focus on that next time I start investigating.
So have you been able to get out to the flying field yet, or?
I haven't. We're supposed to have nice weather this weekend, and I'll see if Wayne maybe wants to go out on Sunday. Depends. He has a lot on his plate. He's shooting traps, and the man's a member of more clubs than anybody I've ever met before. Never seen anybody with so many hobbies. But if I can get him away, then maybe we can go and I can sit out there and watch. I could not possibly kneel down and pit for anybody or anything like that. But I don't think I should, even if, you know, I don't think I should even try it. I don't want to get too wild, especially with Holly at the beach this weekend. This is her first girlfriend weekend out going down to the beach in ages, and so I don't want to be calling her to have to come back because I hurt myself at the flying field. I'd never hear the end of that. But anyway, I'd love to just talk to the guys, you know, and sit out there and chill out and smell some castor oil burning.
Yeah, that's what we had at the Nationals when we went to our Nationals in January. We had a lot of guys that weren't up to flying, but they just wanted to be there and be included within the scene and see what was happening, who was flying, what they were flying. But a lot of people, you can just see they reached the stage where their feet don't want to play the game anymore, and they happy just to be there on the scene and watching what's happening. But it's often like that when I go along to watch some of the scale events. I realize I'm not up to building beautiful scale indoor models, but it's certainly nice to watch them and see people participating.
Oh, I've been focusing, you know, last year at this time, I didn't think I was ever going to fly again either, because my neck would electrocute me every time I looked up. It mysteriously cleared up, and I was thankful for that. But in the meantime, I had been studying judging, thinking if I couldn't fly, then I could participate by judging and still be a part of the, you know, a part of the thing. And so I'm, you know, I'll do that. I'll brush up on my judging material and all, in case, even if I go to a contest intending to fly and it turns out I can't, I can be prepared for some judging. And I've never actually judged an official flight before, so I need a judging clinic if I can. They usually have one at Huntersville before on the Friday before the contest, and I don't know if I could get there in time for it or not, but that would be nice. I went to Randy Smith's judging clinic at the Joe Knoll before the stunt contest last May, and that was really helpful. And we did some practice judging at that time. And man, you got to think and focus, though. It looks a whole lot easier than it is to be a judge. And I know most people aren't under any illusions that it's easy, but people that are good at anything make it look easy.
When I did judging, they gave me a big portfolio of stuff to read about it, and that was hard enough getting through it. And then when you're on the field, it's just one person after another, and it's just no respite. It's a very busy job. You've got to keep thinking. You can't turn off and relax and look at the clouds.
No, you sure can't. And hopefully maybe they'd put me on beginners or something like that at first too. And that way it's not as long or quite as, I don't want to say not quite as serious, because those beginners are trying to win just like everybody else, but I'd feel a lot less pressure because the mistakes are so much more apparent with beginners and that kind of thing. So it might be a little easier.
Yeah. Well, the schedule's shorter for a beginner, and the flights are shorter, less concentration span. But I did judging probably nearly 20 years ago now, but my marks that I handed out were too high, too optimistic, and I wasn't in line with all the other judges, so I sort of got sidelined. But I didn't mind doing it, but I'm not that great at concentrating over a long period of time and keeping consistent scores.
Yeah, I don't have the best tunnel vision focus in the world either. I'm kind of scatterbrained, but I just have to. I would need practice. That's all. Get the hang of it. But that's partly why my progress at stunt has been a little slow, because when I go out to the field and fly, I play, more than I really get serious and practice like I'm flying in front of judges. And I just don't. And I guess that's fine. If it's like money, some people are so focused on money, all they measure everything with is dollars. And if I was interested in money, I'd probably have a lot of it, but I don't. I just have enough to keep the roof from leaking and food on the table, and I'm happy.
Some people are focused on making money, others are focused on spending it, but you've got to find a happy medium, I suppose, somewhere in between. But I think judging does help you focus your flying. It makes you really think about what you're doing a lot more. It's just like when you watch other people flying and you're videoing them, then it makes you very aware of your own errors just by watching others. And you're sort of thinking, my pullouts aren't like that. I'm not flying at that height. No, my corners don't look like that. But I was told by the judge of the last event I did the other week, last weekend, that my flying had improved, which was nice, because I realised it's a bit hard after so many years break, trying to get back into it, just get up to the level that I was at before. It seems very hard. I'm a lot more cautious than when I was young, so all my pullouts are all too high. I'm pulling up, up here.
That's me too. And I think I'm pulling out at the right height, but it's still high according to my buddy that stands outside the field. And he's 6 feet tall, so I try to fly through between his eyes as I go around, if he'll stand, right next to the circle. And when I take off, I like to have my pit man stand directly downwind, so that, or directly across from the judges, so that I'll know where to pull out from my first wing over, use him as my marker for my first pull out. And then after that, he can walk off and go where he wants to. But I saw a video of a Japanese contest, and one of the guys had a pit man that held up a sign with a big, red face on it, and that's what he did for his wing over. After the wing over, the guy put the sign down, and the fight was on. And that's where I got that idea. So I've always asked my pit guy to stand straight across from the judges for my first wing over.
Well,
We got a couple of YouTube viewers now. Maybe one of them will say hi to us.
I look for place marks when I first take off. I look where the judge is sitting and look for trees, poles.
Yeah, something in the background. I'm bad about picking landmarks, but yeah, that's a smart thing to do.
And then the wind moves around, and then everything's thrown out because the judge moves around, and then all your landmarks are moved out of place. So that happens too. It was hard at our nationals because we were flying on different circles. We were flying scale and sportsman on one circle and flying F2B on the other circle, and then when they started doing the classic stunt, they decided they wanted us to move between different judges, so they'd have two different judges sitting in different circles, and we had to move our gear around each time. And that was a bit of a rig.
Yeah,
that was a pain.
That's a distraction too.
It was, but it got us plenty of exercise. But I thought it was a test of endurance more than of stunt flying at that point.
I was about to say, as I don't have a lot of gas in my tank, so if you're asking me to walk around a lot between rounds and move my junk, I'm going to be shaky when I get out for the next round.
Yeah, if you've got a few people between rounds too, that makes it hard. If you're scoring 12 people, there's reasonable gaps between flyers. But like when we've had few entries in scale, if you've only got half a dozen entries or less, you're called up so quickly. It does make it tricky. But the other day when we were down at Mercer, I wanted to get online, and I thought, oh, great, we've finished the stunt flying. They're going to do combat, and then I can do my scale flying after. But no, I got called up while I was trying to get online on my mobile phone onto Stunthangar. Got called up to do judging, or the judges called me up to do my flying. But yeah, it was a mad rush because of the weather. We were trying to get all our flying in before the weather got any worse. But it's often that, everybody wants to get their flying in before the wind picks up or the sun goes down or something's happening, and there's that rush, and the rush to get to an event, and then this constant rush, and it's such a relief at the end of the event when you've got through all your flying and you can just pack things up and head home. But yeah, it was easy when I was younger, I have to say that, a lot easier. Running around part of it. That's where scale flying is quite nice, just a lot less pressure, being able to nominate, I'm going to do a loop, I'm going to do a wing over, or there's some 45 degrees, and you nominate your own maneuvers. That's great. You can fly it with a stunt model or a very, very simple model. You can
basically do anything in the flight that you want, as long as you're trying to make it look like something that an authentic version of that plane would do. Is that right?
Yes, we were only judging off flight performance. For our last contest, we didn't judge off the static points of the aircraft, so it was purely on flight performance. And my aircraft let me down a bit because my little Firefly, grab it here, my battery pack was a bit old, and it's electric, but I didn't have quite enough volts, so I couldn't. My loops were very, very marginal with it, but it was a lot of fun flying it. And then the weather got to it, and it started taking my decals off the. I didn't fuel proof it because it needed fuel proofing, but the rain got to it instead. So my inkjet printed decal started running in the rain. So I had to redo my decals. But the ones on the side weren't too bad because the water didn't sit on them. But yeah, it was a bit of fun flying.
I've tried different things, from masking them and spraying them with dope or luster coat, and other times I've taken clear fingernail polish. But the last couple of times I did that, the polish turned white, and so I had a nasty looking white ring around the edges of the decal.
Yeah, I know you can.
If I rubbed castor oil into it, it made it clear again, though. So that's what I did.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
we don't have a scale contest at Huntersville at our contest, so I've never actually seen one in real life. I know they do at Brodak, but not at Huntersville. And I've never really built any scale planes. I guess, a P-40 ARF, but I don't think that really counts.
Well, building a stunter that's scale enough seems to work well for me, because I can fly it and do other maneuvers knowing the wing loading isn't too high. But I've seen a lot of scale models where the wing loading is just way too high, and they've got a real struggle keeping it
And
airborne.
they come out heavy because you do so much more finishing on them, I guess, right?
Yeah, any extra scale points that you're going to get for a retractable undercarriage or a bomb drop, all of that's adding more weight, or dropping a carrier hook or anything like that will add more weight if you've got extra servos and stuff on board. But as it was, I flew my scale model in scale at our nationals, and I flew it in stunt as well, because it wasn't very scale, but it had the extra functionality to go for the flight performance, and it still did well there because I had very good throttling, and I could drop my carrier hook and do my low flybys, imagining I was catching an imaginary carrier wire. But there wasn't a huge entry of people, so you could pretty much do what you wanted to do. And as long as your flight performance came out well, you got marked quite well. But the person that actually won scale at our nationals was flying his F2B model, and it was a Devoitine, a little French fighter plane, and it was electric. It was he flew it in F2B, and then he turned around and flew it in scale. And I thought, well, that's where electric's got that huge advantage. All you've got to do is put your speed controller on your electric motor, and then you've got your throttling, and you just change from a timer to a 2.4 gigahertz receiver, and you could directly convert it over to flying scale with your same stunt model. And I thought that's a neat scheme, even though I haven't really been a great devotee of electric models. That's one huge advantage I have to give to them.
There are some advantages there if you want to budget your time and go fly a couple of patterns and then get out of there and do what you got to do. Then it makes it easier, and it doesn't make any noise, so the fun police don't come worry about you. So.
And your model doesn't get gradually heavier and heavier with fuel soakage.
That's
another big advantage.
But I do not have any electric equipment, and meanwhile my flying buddy Wayne has switched over to all electric equipment. He's still got a lot of internal combustion stuff hanging in his shop and engines in his drawers, but he pretty much doesn't use them anymore, not unless we're doing something on a theme. Sometimes we'll have a theme flying day, so we'll take out the same kind of planes, or something like that. Have a big plane day or a warbird day or something. So then he'll bring his stuff out.
For vintage, there's nothing like having a vintage motor to me. I really couldn't give up all my glow motors or the gas motors.
Yeah, I like to see a period motor on an old plane too. Like my Yak 9. It's got a Fox 35 on it, which was made in the same year that Sterling was making the Yak 9s. So that I like that too, rather than putting a modern engine on it.
Just tuned up today.
Oh yeah. That's exactly the same box as mine. And I've also got a Mustang out there, which is its sister plane, or I guess I should call it its brother plane. Don't want to feminize a Mustang, but yeah, fly some slow combat, or I wouldn't actually do that with mine, but I like to have the two of them hanging side by side in the shop and take them out to fly once in a while on one of our theme flying days.
Yeah, but they seem a really neat kit. I remember you talking about it, and I saw one on eBay, and I thought, well, it's worth a try. But I might just copy all the parts. The wood is rock hard.
That's what I had to do, because the plywood had delaminated. None of it was any good, and I used the lead edge stick. I figured I'd make it tough, and so I did use lead edge stick, and I guess I used all the ribs too. But other than that, I had to make a new fuselage for it. I made a laminated 2-piece fuselage, and all of the tail feathers and all were new wood, and it turned out to be a pretty good little plane.
Mm.
And I'm on the Mustang. I think I'm going to put a Max S35. I don't think that's as old. I don't think that's really a period engine, but it's got a foxy sound, if you know what I mean. It really does a marvelous 4.2 brake.
They had an early 35, the OS 35. The early one had steel fins. Has yours got the steel fins or the drop-in liner?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty. I'm pretty sure it's got. It's not an ABC engine. I know that much. So,
Mm.
are any of the Max S35s ABC, or they're all steel, aren't they?
They're all steel, but they go back to the 1950s. Some of them are very old engines, and the very old ones have got a form Venturi. It's part of the case rather than the slip-in
Okay.
Venturi.
Yeah,
And
mine's not. Mine's a drop-in Venturi.
yeah,
In fact, Zambelli had to make the Venturi for mine because it came with a carburetor on it.
oh yeah, yeah. Because I might have a 15, but I can show you the difference in my drawer here. But the ones with the black fins are the early ones, and they are very very old now. But from what I've heard, I've used them on a number of models, the Max 35s in the past. But I think the conrod's a little bit soft. That's what normally goes on them. If something goes, it's the conrod.
I think I remember being told that. Yeah, I bet that was Ken Cook from the Philly Flyers that told me about that.
Mm.
I've learned a lot from him.
Yeah,
You can learn a lot from any of the Philly Flyers. Those are really, really a good group of guys. And our new friend Al Ferraro that's been coming on here. I don't know if he's a member of the Philly Flyers, but he's close to them. He's in New Jersey and not very far from Philadelphia. And he's an interesting guy, especially we can learn a lot about combat planes from him.
Yeah, he's very knowledgeable. He's got a lot of experience and some beautiful models.
Yeah.
I've watched on what he's just showing us in his modeling room or his shed, and yeah, it's quite impressive. The real history of modeling there.
I'm going to take a second to say hi to the YouTube viewers. We got two, it keeps varying between 2, 3, and 4 viewers. I don't know who y'all are out there, but thanks for visiting us, and feel free to post something in the chat box. If you can. I don't know if the chat box is working yet or not. That's why I'm hoping you guys will say something, even if you wish to remain anonymous. Let us know. Let us know you're out there. And thanks for watching. At least we can tell when somebody's watching us. If we can't talk to them, at least we know they're there.
Well, it's being able to watch it again on YouTube later. I've always enjoyed doing that. Being able to.
I like doing that sometimes too. I used to want to go back and see if I said anything stupid, but I usually get through without making too much of a fool of myself. So, but I like to see how it sounds because, you know, the way we step on each other, this is kind of like a semi half duplex. You know, when one person's talking, dominating, you can't hear what the other ones say, even if they pitch in with an idea, and it kind of gets broken up like that. And it sounds different on the recording than it does when we're in here live. I always wonder if some of the things I say in the background ever get picked up, and yeah, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
It can get very busy at times when you've got a lot of people on and everybody's trying to get in the way.
Yeah.
But you're a great host, Rusty. You do a great job of it. Not everybody could do that job so well and keep a level head when you've got so many things happening at once.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I enjoy doing it, and when I first started, I was really enthusiastic and used to think up a lot of stuff to talk about while I was waiting for the first viewers to come in. Nowadays, they seem to come in sooner, and I don't have to do that as much. And this winter, I've been a little off my game, but right now, I'm feeling so much better than I have since October, or actually since July or August, that I'm getting a little of my enthusiasm back. So I'm remembering how much fun I had doing it. So I hope, you know, I hope that's a part of recovering from all that I've had going on since then.
Well, it's a great forum, and it does spark enthusiasm. And when people can talk about their interest, and often you're isolated, you're in a club where there aren't any other control line flyers or nobody else flying.
There are a lot of people that have nobody to consult with or talk to or teach them or to teach. So yeah, this is a great forum for that.
Well, since I've been on Stunthangar, I've come on live on Stunthangar and been able to talk to you and others. It's increased my enthusiasm. I've got back into actually flying competitively, but I'm extremely rusty and I've got a lot to relearn and models to improve. I've sort of had so long out of flying competitively that a lot's changed in that time. All these electric models have come along, and just the standard flying's improved enormously, and the aerodynamics of the more modern, I suppose it's like when you compare a Nobler to an SV11 or something, there's just such a huge gulf between them now. What's happened in the last 50 years or more now.
I've learned so much. It's incredible. I didn't understand a lot about aerodynamics and balance in all of the different directions, and learning that has made a huge difference in my flying too.
You've probably got that problem, I think, with most clubs where you've got some very experienced modelers, and unless they pass on their knowledge in the time that they've got, often there's a void, a real big void when they go. We had a very experienced stunt flyer in our club, in the Auckland Free Flight Club, Dennis Tristram, and I learned a lot from him, but he died relatively young, and I just feel he's taken a whole lot of his secrets to his grave with him. He built beautiful models and he could fly so well, but yeah, you've really got to treasure those people while they're around, learn what you can from them. But it's hard to replace them, that's for sure. We've got a few keen stunt flyers in our club, but we're a mixed club where a lot of people do control line racing, and some are purely into free flight, not into control line at all. But
what about RC? Is your club an RC club too?
No, we're a breakaway from an RC club. It actually goes back to Tor Bay Club, and then they joined forces with the Mount Roskill Club. And Roskill Club are a very large radio club, and because the control line free flight people felt marginalised within that club, they broke away and started the Auckland Free Flight Club. And our president, who was one of those initial ones to break away, David Ackery, was always a very keen free flight flyer, but he got involved in racing, speed, control line, and he's a good stunt flyer. He's very competent at stunt flying. He's have a go even flying carrier. He's done a lot in his time, and he's been a guiding force for most of the people in the club. But as we've lost a lot of our very experienced members, you really feel it. You feel that wealth of experience for those people that were in their heyday in the 60s and 70s when modelling was very strong. It's probably the same in most clubs, I imagine. In America, you've had the high point probably of aeromodeling would have been in the 50s and 60s, and those people that can remember back to that era when things were very active have got so much to offer.
Back in those days too, we were all children of World War II, Korea veterans, and that sort of thing. And so airplanes were just something that fascinated everybody, and that led to a lot more interest in aeromodeling, which is not an inspiration that's really alive today. You know, planes are just ordinary, just something else now, about as interesting as a cell phone to most people.
It is sad.
Much, actually.
Not that interesting to them. But a lot of people have said that on Stunthangar that aircraft, space travel, all of that was it was the top of the pops. It was something that caught everybody's imagination, probably up till Star Wars, really. And then as technology took over through the 80s and 90s, people could have that technology in their own hand. They sort of lost interest in what was happening in the bigger field of things. But I know my parents, my father coming from Germany, he talked a lot about the aircraft during the war, and he had a great admiration for the Americans. He joined the American Army after the war, but my mother had an admiration for the pilots that flew out where she lived in Fiji, and how they were a lifeline for them during the war and after the war. We had the New Zealand Air Force had bases in Fiji where they'd take their flying boats in, their short Sunderland flying boats, and do their air sea rescue and patrol work there, and they were a big part of what happened in Fiji. And so she had a a big respect for that aspect of aviation. And she was the one that bought me my first control line model, the Cox Super Stunter, and she was keen that I got involved in control line. So again, it's that the children from that war era, and they could see an importance to aviation.
Was your dad in the German military too?
After the war, he initially, after the war, they started out with the American military. Had to basically get involved with the coming of the Cold War, and they set up a new military there based on their own military. So he joined the US forces there as part of the US Army, and then later on they sent up their Bundeswehr or whatever, the German Army, and then he joined on to the German Army, and he had a brief time in the German Navy, but that's all post-war. And then after that he decided to immigrate out to Australia, the great new place, and came from Australia to New Zealand. But yeah, he had a lot of time in the military, and he had a great respect for aviation and the Navy, and I suppose having done so many years in the Army, he ended up doing security work, often like a lot of military people do.
Mm-hmm.
But in his youth, he trained as a blacksmith. So, but after the war, I think people were just looking for steady work and a job, and the military provided that.
The military is the greatest equal opportunity employer in the world.
Mm. Yeah, it's definitely. I suppose it's a way to learn a trade, learn a skill, and something that you take with you all your life. But I never joined the military. I went into the public service when I left school, but I regret that now that we didn't have compulsory military service. But I wished I had done it in a way just to be able to reflect back and say, well, I did my bit. But
I come from a long line of Navy guys, and when I turned 18, I registered for the draft, which we all had to do back then, and then I got my physical, and that's when I found out I had kidney failure coming on. So there's no military for me. I don't know which branch I would have gone to. I would have probably been leaning Air Force, because even back then I just seemed to have an interest in aviation more than anything else, and I'd been deep sea fishing enough to know that I didn't like being on boats in the hot sun rocking in the ocean for obvious reasons. So not that it's any more comfortable inside of a plane, but I guess if you gotta be seasick on one of them, get on the one that you like the best, and I liked airplanes the best.
Yeah. Oh, I can admire those people that serve their country and have that past to look back on. It's quite amazing what Sparky's able to tell us about his time in the Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose most of us that are keen aero modelers built plastic kits when we were young, and I remember building an F-14 and thinking, yeah, the colour scheme that he designed could have been the one that I built as a FX model. But yeah, it's quite amazing just how influential it was for young folk. Everybody at school built model kits. So many at school flew control line. It was just a thing. It was the go-to thing. You did it. And
actually, I built more battleships and tanks and stuff like that than I did airplanes. And I remember I built a Fokker DR-1 and a couple of warplanes like that, because I used to read about the pilots. There were paperback biographies, or I guess biographies about the pilots, and I read Manfred von Richthofen and Eddie Rickenbacker and those guys, and I was interested in their planes, so built some of those, but mostly my plastic model kits were warships, battleships, things like that.
I built a USS Missouri, the big battleship. I remember doing that, and I helped a friend build a USS Enterprise aircraft carrier. I got the job of gluing together and painting all the aircraft for it. But yeah, I remember doing that as a kid too. But yeah, I built a few battleships. But I suppose it was common. You go into a toy shop or a hobby shop, there was just such a huge range of plastic models. Yeah. And yet for kids these days, there's not a lot out there. It looks like Jim's in.
Hey, got two of them. Got Jim and one of the mics. Hey, Jim.
Hey, how are you guys?
And oh, that's not Mike. That's Mark.
Mark. Yeah. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Jim.
Howdy.
How are y'all tonight? Did y'all have a good week behind you?
I did. Actually, I was supposed to be in Dallas tonight for a contest tomorrow, but the weather is so crappy. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to set this one out. So,
Sorry about that. I hate to get disappointed by the weather like that, but
yeah,
that's what happens.
I just can't.
The thing
It's
about
supposed to
it
be
is,
windy.
when we've had people bail on Huntersville contests, and as soon as they bail out, the weather clears up, and we have unpredicted but beautiful flying days. So
Yeah.
I'm inclined to go if it's just rain, if it's not too cold or windy.
Well, it's cold, windy, and rain.
Yeah, okay, I can forgive you for that.
Yeah, I just thought, nah, it's okay. I'll go to the next one.
Yeah, save your models for a better day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's getting all soggy. Yeah, the water gets into everything. Your wood swells in your models and gets into your flight box and everything, and you just come home and want to dry everything out, and you've got a really bad weekend.
I don't suppose either of you guys tried to post any thing in the chat box, did you?
Not me.
I was curious. I don't see anybody posting in it, so I guess it's not working tonight again, but I got it up in case anybody gets in. Well, I'm back to work on the Cardinal. I've been out to the shop 3 times since Sunday, and last night I walked out of the shop and walked the whole 150 feet all the way back to the house with my cane resting on my shoulder, and it was like nothing was ever wrong with me. And of course, it probably only is like that when my pain medicine's peaking, but still, oh, here, I gotta let somebody in. But still, that's encouraging. Let's see. Hang on, Tom. I'm letting you in. As soon as your picture goes bright, then you can turn your microphone on. And here you go. There you go. Okay. Now you can turn your microphone on.
Howdy.
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 Tom.
How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you tonight? We're developing a pretty good crowd here.
I'm trying to figure out, but I think I'm in starting on my 7th day of standing.
Couldn't hear what you said when you turned your head away. What'd you say?
I think I'm in my 7th day of sanding.
Oh. Well, sand away. Oh, looks like Dennis M. 2009 says, good evening, everyone. Hey, Dennis. Well, I guess that means the chat box is working. That's a good sign. Maybe I'll type hi back to you. Says, hi, Dennis. Welcome.
Tell him hi from everybody.
Hi from everybody, Dennis.
Yep.
Now, who's Dennis? If it's our regular Dennis, I forgot his last name. But anyway, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5 of us in here, and one of us on the tube, and 2 viewers. One of those would be Dennis. Oh, while we got a lull in the talk, let me show you what I got, if I can find it. It's my new Stunthangar shirt.
Well, Stucker's coming along well there, Tom.
Yeah. Yeah, I reworked, I was gonna paint it today, but, I reworked the leading edge. It was still too pointed. So that took a long time to fix the leading edge.
Here we go. My long sleeve Stunthangar shirt. And, but I'm disappointed because this is the front of the shirt. The picture's on the back, which wouldn't be a problem, except the way I like to wear t-shirts is underneath a regular shirt, so that so that it looks like this, and I guess I can't do anything about it now. I'll still wear it, and I figured in between months, between now and summer, I could wear this and have the sleeves coming out kind of like a baseball shirt, and but like a baseball t-shirt with the different colored sleeves. But anyway, it's still a cool shirt. But
was it an error?
Huh?
Did they mean to print it on the back?
Now you're all breaking up, Gerald. Yeah, the picture is on the back. I think it's a P-48 Thunderbolt.
Was that the one that was Sparky's design? Looks nice. Yeah.
Yeah, the picture might be Schultz's. I don't know if this is a plane he drew or not. And I like the streaky looking font where it says Stunt. Stunt. Spell it with an E. It's not backwards to y'all. It's just backwards to me, isn't it? I think it's because I got my camera reversed, so I don't get confused when I wave my arms around.
But how come some got an E and some got a? Oh, here's Sparky now. You can tell us. How come
Yeah, hang on, Sparky. I'll let you in just a moment. And as soon as you go bright, you can turn your mic on. Let me see if I can get you to go bright. I didn't want to let Sparky in.
Yeah.
There we go. Come on. I don't have my blocking controls turned on. I turned them off when I saw you. What's the matter, you? It would be Sparky I had trouble with. I didn't have any trouble with anybody else. There we go. All right, now you can turn your mic on, Sparky. It's just messing with me. Well,
What's going on?
I guess it's hard. It's better for it to be hard to let somebody in than easy. And Terry Forbes just came in.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you, Mr. Forbes?
Hanging in there. Hanging
Good.
tight.
That's good to hear. How's your wife? Is she better
Well,
now?
yes, I got her back, and we just don't know. And I just want to talk about airplanes.
Okay.
But thank you for your thoughts. God bless you, Rusty.
I can
Thanks,
understand.
man.
I understand. So,
Yeah,
all right,
I
let's talk
appreciate
about
it, though. Believe me.
We've been having a pretty good chat so far, and we've been a little more vocal than some of our first 45 minutes. Not struggling as much.
Cool.
We've even got a YouTube participator, Dennis in 2009, said good evening to everyone. But we hadn't had anybody else show up. We've only got 2 viewers, and he must be one of them.
Well, because we had to go a little under, member only kind of stuff. A lot of people are viewing it after the fact. So
yeah, well, that's okay.
It's just,
But if they want to participate on YouTube, I want them to be able to.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question.
Well, I went through all the subscribers and I blocked all the ones that I think are idiots.
Yeah, you can kind of look at whoever their subscribe to and get an idea. If they subscribe to gaming sites, they're automatically suspect.
Well, YouTube is at war with many of their providers, or many of their producers. They're people that produce content and saying it's not ad worthy until it goes through review, and that takes 2 weeks. And by then you've had all your viewers, even if it's 2 million. Look at the thing. Listen,
They usually
we see
they
it,
approve
Miss
these
CEO, the CEO. We see what you're doing.
Usually I check right after a show, and they're almost always instantly approved, unless they
well, that's good.
go back. But yeah, we had a little problem when we were using dual sources for producing the shows, but not now.
Yep. Say no. Say no more. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me put you in a
Terry,
rest.
I didn't mean to blow you off on the long booms.
Listen. I'm just giving you a hard time, man. That's all. Because I told you about the
boom.
No, it looks good. I told you about the long booms and the nylon thing.
Let me hold it up for a
These
minute before I
planes
come on
take
lock on.
One at a
they
time.
take repair so easy.
Wow.
You know.
That's a big difference in the boom length.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that looks nice.
Yep. Well, the faster it goes, the more torque it takes, the more leverage to turn quick.
And the less you are, less likely you are to stall that stabulator too.
Yeah.
Those look good, Sparky.
Good air.
Thank you.
Hey, Jim.
I got a 46 on this one till I get back to Dayton, where I got the other 35.
Yeah, that one looks beautiful. I mean, they both do, but I just love the design. Just love it.
I put a bigger pod on this one too.
Yep, very cool.
What's inside of there? Just epoxy balsa wood, or did you put a container inside of it?
No, just balsa wood, epoxy.
That's all you need, man. It just takes a beating if you land hard, but you can fix it with 5 minutes real easy.
Yeah.
Well, I got enough wood and the tracings to build 2 more in this box. I'll do it back in Dayton. But if I have a problem with that, I'll fiberglass that nose.
Sure. Just keep it light. Keep it real light. And check the balance as to the balance on the plans. And what I've done with mine, I use those little brass eyelet things that they used to give you for your lead outs. I have those under my wing, and I have it double laminated under there, but I balance my plane basically on 2 ice picks. And when you add even a small muffler to a shortly covered airplane like that, I have to add solder, and I wrap it around the control horn on the tail.
We ain't running those stinking mufflers on these.
No, I know. Listen, I'm with you. All mine are designed to fly without mufflers, but unfortunately, when you go to some events and you just want to even fly a demo thing, they freak out if you don't have some sort of muffler.
But then I just won't fly it.
Well, I've got a couple where, you know, if you do put a muffler on it, you can still fly it pretty good, but you got to put some weight in the tail. All I'm saying is they're very shortly coupled, and they trim sensitive. Here's the one I'm working on. Here, let me turn my camera around here. Let's see if I can do this.
The short one is nose heavy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that might be all right though.
I mean, I flew them like this 40 years ago or 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they all fly good. They all fly fantastic.
I bet the short one's a whole lot twitchier. I guess the short one's a whole lot twitchier because if I wanted to fly a pattern, I'd definitely go with the long one.
Yeah.
Pattern?
Can you see?
Yeah, you
Can you see
were
that
talking
plane?
about flying a pattern with one day. You might have been delirious.
Yeah,
Combat
it'll
pattern.
fly a pattern, man. It'll fly a pattern.
It'll fly a pattern in about a minute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty quick.
yeah, 100-mile-an-hour
Well, you
pattern.
need to add more streamer, man. If it's too fast, you got to add streamer.
Yeah, that'll
Gotta pull
tame
some
it.
streamer. Pull some videotape around. Yeah, my record is like 3.5 laps on 70 foot before the prop catches up or it breaks. But you still got 3.5 laps, and then start doing a spiral up and see how it looks. Awesome.
I think this one here is lighter, even though the 46 is heavier. It feels like it.
Well, your skill went up on the second one.
No, about the same. They're the same.
Did you
They're
use
20
kit,
ounce.
other than the booms? Did you use kit wood on that one?
Oh yeah. These two here will be contest balsa. I bought 2 light leading edges, and then I got my third choice contest balsa that will make 2 more out of.
Well, I'm right behind you. I got 2 of the factory voodoo kits, with the extensions on the bench, and I've got 2 clones sitting here. So, doing the same thing.
On the
Well,
mufflers,
When I
Those
go
are
to
good.
Kodak, I just want to have enough that I can crash 4 times.
Yep.
What you got there, Gerald?
Yeah, those
Oh,
look good, Gerald.
yeah, it's just, I know where you are, you've got sites where you don't need mufflers, but I'll have to use a muffler if I build a voodoo. And here's my 2 options, using either the Tectone piece pipe,
Yep.
which is nice and flush to the motor. Otherwise, I've seen these come up occasionally on eBay, and that is OS header. And it uses
Yeah.
a little muffler for header, so it's very flush. So it's not
Yep.
really going to get away, and you can move your CG back at the same time.
Yep. You could probably use both, but I have used those Tatones. But have you removed the baffles inside?
No, I haven't removed that
Well,
one. No.
I would get rid of all of it and take
There's the
your
header, Gerald.
take your grinder.
Oh yes.
See that?
Oh yeah, that looks. Yep, that's the same sort as I've got here. Yeah.
That's the same header.
Yeah. Well, you're lucky you don't have to use a muffler. I know it'll really slow things down, but virtually
No,
all
not
our
really.
sites.
Yeah, I mean, it will a little, but you'll still have a ball.
But yeah, I'm keen to give it a try. Nobody here flies 35 combat models. Everything's smaller, but I have seen people build them in the past, and even if I'm just using it to have a bit of fun, I'm not flying against anybody else. I'm just keen to give it a try.
Well, what I'm going to send you is, here, let me show you. You'll get my kind of hand. See there. You'll get a copy of the plans only because the plans aren't really plans. I've got a copy, believe it or not, in my man cave framed. I just like the voodoo and I love this little plan. But I'm going to throw you a couple of these plastic templates for the number 1 and the number 2 ribs. And a spacer for the, do you see that? Yeah. Okay. And a spacer or a like a tape that has the spacing for the leading edge. Now, if you can't get a shaped leading edge, I'm giving you a full-size template of the airfoil. Just cut a notch in the end for like a 1/2-inch square balsa, and then just use your razor plane to get your round edge. But it's kind of a point. So you'll have the airfoil so you can, I don't know, can you get shaped leading edge there or not?
What we used to do is we'd get a piece of balsa and we'd cut it into 4, and then we'd glue it on top of each other so they're staggered.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it'd make a out of 4 pieces of.
You know what I'll do? I'll just go ahead and cut your templates to use a 1/2-inch square balsa. You can get that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or 1/4 inch, whatever you want. I mean, 1/4 inch works good too. It's just that for this combat model, traditionally they have, that's what Sparky appropriately called a baseball bat leading edge.
Yeah.
It's the hardest balsa I've ever seen, man.
$5 a piece.
Yeah, I'm telling you, balsa like this does not exist anymore because it's not growing in the forest anymore. This stuff's lightweight and it's very hard. It's like sea grain on steroids.
I suppose it's like the old Sterling kit wood on that. It's got this turn up in the mail.
Oh yes, exactly.
Yeah, and the wood on that is like concrete. The leading edge is really hard.
No, that's the same wood. It's not growing down there anymore, believe it or not.
I thought they made it out of pine.
No, it's a AAA balsa, but it's a different tree. It's a different series of the tree. It has longer and more coarser grain to it.
Did you know balsa wood's not the lightest wood?
I realize that. Pith wood is. Pith, where you make pith balls. That
I don't know
leads to a
what the name
funny
of the
story.
wood.
I can't go there.
The name of the wood, but if you search it on Google, balsa is not the lightest.
No.
There's another wood lighter.
I know there's another wood they're using. There's a wood called Paul Wiener or something, and it's a wood they use for surfboards. And it's it seems very popular. It's heavier than balsa, but it seems to be appearing in all the ARF kits. I think people are using it instead of balsa, or the Chinese are, because it's popular and it's cheap.
It's cheaper and it's more readily available for them.
Yeah, and I've bought ready to fly radio models, and you just think, what is this stuff? It's not like balsa. It's very brittle. Yeah.
I used to dress up my old Blue Andrews Aeromasters for standoff scale by using chopsticks. It's not that I relied on them for the strength. I used them to surround the wire carabine struts to make them look more wood and realistic. And it's just that chopstick wood that it's so easy to carve.
That's bamboo, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a soft bamboo. Yeah.
Bamboo is some strong stuff. I've put a lot of fuselages back together with bamboo skewers.
Oh, they're a lifesaver, especially for composite stuff.
So if I bought Sparky's old leading edges off them that are made like concrete, they'd be so strong I could let my boys fly the model. Would that be right?
That would be about right.
So maybe I'll have to PayPal you some money for your leading edges, Sparky, and I'll be able to build some heavyweights that my boys can have a go at.
I can get there's a couple more down at Shapers. They're $5 a piece, $5.29. You want them? Well, it'll probably cost more than that to mail them.
Yeah, well, I've actually got a US chip. Yeah, I've got a way around that one now. I can send it to a place in New Hampshire that can post it to me, and that way I can consolidate orders of things, send it to a shipping agent, and send it on from there. That's a way around that I've been experimenting with.
Send me that information. Who to send stuff to, because you know, I can put these in those triangle mailing tubes and short of the sheet balsa, and if you need that, I can throw that in there too.
Yeah, I got a question for you guys. I don't know which one of you would know it, but I went and I bought some denatured alcohol, which it says window cleaner fuel.
Yep.
How much alcohol do you put in with the epoxy to get it to paint nicely?
You only need just a little squirt, or maybe a quarter. Like, how much are you mixing to start with? Like, are you familiar with the Tower Hobby epoxy cup? This thing. Are you familiar with that size cup?
Yeah.
Well, let's say you got that about half full of resin. You would only put maybe 25 drops of denatured in it.
I usually just dip my brush in it and soak in wet, and then wipe it into the epoxy and paint it.
Yeah.
And then,
but you don't want, but so you don't want to ever contaminate your source. Number one, pour your whatever you're putting in your paint, like you never want to use an application device to deliver a thinning agent. Oh, you can, because I do it for washes on plastic models. But for a layup or an epoxy thing, you really don't want to use anything wooden to stir it with. You don't want to use really anything that's plastic, because the plastic could release some ethylenes of some sort that may interfere with the epoxy's ability to fully harden. And then you never want to use any kind of a brush to mix anything with, because you can't get a proper mix. The best thing to use is one of those little artist palettes like
I use a
this.
ball driver.
Well, you can, but you get one of these little artist palettes. And Michael's have them. Walmart even has them now.
Yeah.
And
They've got good supplies at Walmart.
yeah, and it spreads epoxy really good. And then I take over with an old credit card. And
Yeah.
if the credit cards get screwed up, just go to your wife's handbag and grab them all and use them for epoxy. Quick. Anyway, that's my joke. That's my joke.
When I make up epoxy for spraying cars, then I make it up with about 15% epoxy thinner.
Yeah, for spraying. Yes, sir.
Spraying, and then if I'm mixing it up to seal the wood, I'll mix it up 50-50. But I don't like using ethanol or alcohol, because it tends to absorb the water and it makes your epoxy go white. So I prefer to use proper
Well,
epoxy.
when I'm using that alcohol like Sparky's got, it's probably 98% alcohol.
Yeah, it's way up there.
So it doesn't have a lot of water in it.
Yeah.
But it'll soak it up out of the atmosphere.
I never use drugstore 70%.
I guess a model airplane engine would run on this. It says clean burning fuel.
Well, if it's methanol, it'll be markedly better than ethanol, but it'll still work as far as catalyzing the platinum.
Sparky, are you thinning down the regular 30-minute or the finishing resin?
The finishing resin.
Okay, you only need to use a few drops, like I said, because it's pretty thin.
I used a capful in about an ounce, and it didn't seem to thin it very good.
Well, then add a little more if you want. You know, it all depends on what you're used to working with. It does evaporate very quickly.
You know the good stuff. It says not for sale in California.
There you go. It's rocket ship.
Yeah, I'd suggest if you're going to buy any more epoxy.
Does it say a stove oil on it?
Fuel.
Stove fuel. I mean, not oil.
Fuel.
Yes.
It says fuel. Yeah.
Stove fuel.
Yeah. You know, if you got, I made, I enjoy hammock camping like Shug does. And my wife thinks it's funny that we go out and sleep outside and cook like hobos. Anyway, it's fun. Anyway, how else are you going to meet Bigfoot?
Yeah, really.
You obviously never went to the parties I used to go to in the Navy.
I was in the Army. I was an aviator.
It doesn't say what it is. It just says denatured alcohol.
Yeah, it's about 98.8%.
95 natural renewable content.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, if you go to the camping department, you can get a little higher. Mine's 98.7, I believe.
Yeah.
People have run blue engines on ethanol, and it does work, but methanol catalyzes better.
Yeah, what's that, Gerald?
This is the proper product for epoxy coatings. It says for epoxy coatings, resin products, and epiglass cleaning fluid epoxy thinner. And the actual ingredients, it says, are aromatic hydrocarbons and ketones. But there's no alcohol in it.
No ketones.
Yeah, but it works well. It doesn't bloom. It doesn't absorb the water.
Yep.
And yeah, that's what I normally use for thinning my epoxy. But if you go to any paint suppliers that sell epoxy products, they'll have an epoxy thinner, and you'll find it'll be different to using the alcohols. I just find it's better to use the proper epoxy thinner you'll notice a difference if you try it.
I'll
Use
bet.
that for now, and especially if you're using it straight over wood. It doesn't matter, but if you're using it on a final finish, I'd get a better thinner. Otherwise, you might ruin your finish if you're using the epoxy to fuel proof. It's just from my experience. I've done a lot of spraying over the years, and you can't beat good quality products.
Yep.
The thing is, when you buy a cheap epoxy mix and it doesn't work right, it's frustrating. Money down the drain.
You know what might seem crazy, but the last two little gas hydros I finished, I used the Z-epoxy finishing resin. I didn't thin it, and I used those little 1-inch yellow rollers, those little foam rollers.
Yeah.
And I rolled it out, and the only thing I did is I used an infrared lamp that I have, and it's on one of those little telescoping arms, and I did use that. I was worried it wasn't going to flow out, but it, believe me, it's like glass, and it didn't seem to puddle or to because it was going on a slightly curved surface of the top. I just did the top of the boat this way, and then I rotated the boat over and I did the sponsons. I didn't do the bottom; it already had enough finish on it. But a gentleman on the gas boats, whoever Peter is, Gas Boats Forum, thank you, because it worked. And a little roller, think about it. I mean, you got to kind of throw the roller away and go buy a little refill kit, but big deal.
You're not breathing in fumes. You're not breathing in the vapor. It's good. Yeah. If you've got a slow setting hardener in your resin too, it gives you plenty of time for that to settle, for the resin to settle down, and you won't get any bugs. But you can't really do it if you're using a fast resin where you've got a fast setting hardener for cold weather. That's probably the bigger problem where you've used a quick setting hardener. But,
well, let me show you this, because it kind of freaked me out. When I got the resin, and I've used it before, and of course it's an improved formula, but the hardener is kind of an amber color. I thought, oh man, this will never go clear. But when you mix it, after it kicks, it goes clear.
Yeah.
This is amber Z-epoxy.
Yeah, it goes clear as a bell when you're done.
PT40 is the part number.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I had them though. After a few years, they've gone yellow, and that's a bit frustrating. Your finish changes from, say, silver to sort of a bronze color. I've had that happen. But I think again, it's the quality of the product. A really good quality product doesn't yellow.
Well, I've built two. I built a Voodoo and a Combat Cat, and they both have identical motors. McCoy 35 redheads, brand new. I just flew the Combat Cat again today. I'm just putting my AMA numbers on it now that I got it cleaned up. And I'm telling you, men recognize the sound. Old guys recognize the sound of that McCoy 35 with no muffler, spinning a wood prop. Because guys stop and they come over and they go, I haven't heard that sound in 50 years.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And what hooks these younger kids, electric doesn't do anything for them. Electric RC or RC airplanes, they've had all these air hogs and all this RC garbage. But you know what's hooked them? Is the stupid, my syringe and the fuel and the motor and the starting battery and the exhaust, and it's a combustion motor. This is what's hooking them. It's what hooked us as kids. It's the same thing that hooked me.
Yeah, it's like the little kids' steam engines and things. They were really fascinating.
I love it.
The biggest problem that we have as far as attracting kids is that when you and I, Terry, and probably everybody in this, when we started flying in the 60s and 70s, you could go down to the local schoolyard and start your airplane and fly. And the minute an airplane started, 1,000 kids would show up to see what you're doing.
Exactly.
Well, now they've got us so far out in the country because they're afraid of somebody getting hit or they don't want to hear the noise. But they'll run the damn weed eater at 6 o'clock Sunday.
Yeah, and they're
morning.
way over. Hey, they're way over 90 decibels because that's the magic number. Okay. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's a bummer,
I
but
get it.
yeah, it's like that here as well. Worldwide, it's probably the same problem. We're pushed out. You're not visible any longer publicly. And we
Yeah.
used to fly in a park that was right on a main road in the centre of Takapuna, which is a real busy. It's got all high-rise around it now. We got pushed off, but the site that we got pushed off was with the strip club behind us didn't like us interfering with their customers' pleasure. So
Oh man,
it was a
I
bummer.
love it.
Yeah.
I used to fly at the schoolyard. I flew at the Ole's parking lot, you know, in the shopping center. We used to fly and under the lights at the Sears Mall, you know.
Oh, listen, I'm with you.
Yes.
I'm with you. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
it's
you
all
can't do
You know,
it.
now you start your motor even in your driveway to warm it up, and I have my new neighbor called the police. I said, "Why didn't you just come over and see what I was doing?" Well, I knew it wasn't right. Well, what's not right? I don't know.
Yeah,
So-
it ain't right that you're running your damn weed eater at 6 o'clock on Sunday morning. Or the
Yeah.
lawnmower for hours and hours and hours.
Or the leaf blower blowing all the stuff out of your yard into the street.
Yeah, and then a car comes by and it all blows back again.
No.
Anyway, it's all
Ultimately,
good.
I pissed off the neighbours so much I moved out into the country and bought a site with my wife that's big enough to fly our models on. So we've got our two control line circles, and there's enough space around us away from the nearest houses that we can generally do what we want without getting any complaints. But when I used to be back in suburbia, if they weren't moaning about my motors, they were moaning about my cars and having a bit of fun. But yeah, it's just that thing that people are killjoys. They just don't like to see you having fun often. They just
That's pathetic.
Back in 91, you know, I wasn't even thinking here in St. Louis in 90, was it 91? No, it was 1990. I just took an airplane to the park and I flew it in the park and I got run out. You know, I didn't know any better. Just, you know, everybody was watching. No, you have to go out to Booter Park. A million miles. It's 26 miles for me to fly out at Booter.
Well, I've got a place locally I can go where the lighthouse is, this little park there, and I can go over back behind the golf course. But
well, the nice thing about Dayton is I'm 3 miles from the field.
that's not bad. That's not bad.
So it's like going to the high school to fly again.
Yeah.
I have a circle in my backyard.
You lucky.
I'm so jealous.
I love it.
It's
Like
grass and it's rough, but
I'm going to come see you,
The
Jim.
problem is that the kids don't hear us flying anymore. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Well, the young minds that I get my airplanes in front of, they love it. They absolutely love it. And I'm
glad you can do that.
I have nothing with gear on it. I've got a flight streak with no gear. I've got mostly these combat planes. Oh, I do have the Nobler. I flew that. And that flies beautiful. And that's on that Brodak 40. You know, I did some weights
Terry,
the other day. Yeah.
Let's see. We got Al coming in. Hang on, Al. I'll let you in. Just give me a second here.
well, I am going to build a 100-mile-an-hour Ringmaster like I had in 1973.
I love them.
Al, as soon as your picture goes bright, you can turn your mic on. I'm trying to let you in right now. It's being
I
a
just
little
got
hard.
in right away.
Yeah, some people get right in and some people don't. Oh, come on. Don't give me this.
See, girl's got one of them good Stunthangar shirts on.
It's nice and warm.
Here you go. Hey, Mike. I mean, Al. See, Mike. Okay.
Well,
How are you tonight?
Good. I got it.
Hey, Al.
I think my Wi-Fi is no good in this area. I got to go to a different area.
I worked a deal today with chicken wings, and I put a shirt up on Teespring that it's their cartoon, but I changed it to reflect control line flying better. But they're going to be doing some cartoons, and I'm going to have some comic books, probably at Joe and All and at Brodax. They're what Chicken Wings is a aviation comic book.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Look
my
at
new one.
Right.
Long sleeve. Only, man, I was so disappointed. I didn't realize that the picture is on the back because I like to wear my t-shirts like this under a regular shirt, but that's all right. It's still a cool shirt.
Yeah. Somebody asked me tonight, do you have a choice front or back? I guess I could do another run of everything on the front too. So you got a choice front or back. It's just double work, but
Yeah.
Good.
It didn't even occur to me when I bought it, but it's all right. It's still a good shirt. I'll wear it.
So Sparky, are you going to fly?
Right.
Sparky, are you going to fly on the Ringmaster-a-thon with the 100 miles per hour Ringmaster you want to build? Is it for Ringmaster-a-thon? I think it's in October, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Ringmaster.
Yes, it is.
I had a red, white, and blue Ringmaster. It was all silk and dope. Had a wiffle ball buried in the wing. Had a G21 35 Super Tiger on it, 8.8 prop. And I used to fly that between the hobby shop and the church at Millington Air Station when I was stationed there. And it would rattle the area, just ring.
I love it.
Well, Sparky, I was stationed in Millington too in 1975.
We were there at about the same time.
I went to A school there.
I did too. What'd you take?
1975.
AMS.
I was AMS too.
Really? Cool.
What airplane did you work on?
T-84s and T-2C Buckeyes.
Uh-huh. I went to Miramar, which is Top Gun school.
Right.
Training or whatever, and I worked on VF-124, worked on F-14s, and then I transitioned into VF-211.
I was stationed on NAS Kingsville, Texas.
USS Constellation and the USS Enterprise.
Yeah. I didn't get to go on a boat except for the Lexington when they were doing carrier quals for 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, what happened in Millington was kind of strange. When I did my BTBs, they said, we're going to make you an AT. I said, okay, that's great. And so I'm in Millington, and I'm in that AT testing area, and it's long rows of, cubicles, desks. And I'm doing this math, or trying to do this math, that's so far over my head. I didn't have all that shit, I just couldn't do it. So I kind of dropped out. And they had promised me an A school, but I wanted to be a mechanic anyway. And so I complained to the chaplain. So I went over everybody's head. They put me in as an AMS. But I ended up running corrosion control, which was a painter of gray. I'm the best painter of gray you've ever seen.
I love it.
I can paint gray in any shade.
I was in AIMD on the base there in Kingsville and working the paint shop for a little while. But
you know where I'm talking about, the hobby shop and the church there in Millington, right?
Yeah.
There's a little square pad. There was a little square pad that we stood on. The barracks were that way. The sidewalk was here. The hobby shop was on the right, and the church was on the left, and there was just enough room for us to fly if you stood right on that square pad. So Lewis Rankin, who is a commander, lives in Millington. The last time I was down there at their last contest, we went to Millington Air Base, which is no longer owned by the Navy. It's a civilian base, but we got on because they got Navy guards at the gate.
Mhm.
he showed his commander's card, and he'd got a commander's sticker on there, and they looked at my ID, and we went in there. Zerl was with us, and this is a funny story. We're driving around, and nothing looks the same. The Quonset huts are gone. Everything's on the airport's gone. The school buildings have all changed. Nothing looks the same, except for I know there's a church. So we're out by the church, and I'm trying to get my bearing. The gates over here, and this, that, and the other. And we're digging around, and the three old guys are digging around in the field, and the shore patrol's going back and forth, and they're stopping and looking. And Lewis says, "Yeah, that guy's probably thinking there's them old guys digging in that field again." Couldn't find that square pad. They had dug it up because the hobby shop was gone. So I said, let's stop and ask the chaplain. So I go into the church, and I look at this guy who's, I don't know, he probably was a captain. I look at him and I go, "Sir, I was here, in the 70s. Oh, shit, you weren't even born then." I said, "Never mind." And I walked out.
Hey, Terry, are you, do you want to postpone your show and tell to a time when you're more relaxed
yeah, I don't have that kit out here, but I'll be ready on Friday. Sparky already showed you guys the double kit, so what I'll show you is the first kit they ever produced, the Red Box Voodoo, and then I'll show you the combat cats.
Okay.
That Red Box Voodoo is selling right now on eBay for $115.
I'll tell you, when the market was up real high, I was getting $3 1/4 for a double voodoo kit that had the upgrade sticker on the cover. In fact, I can show you that in a minute. Let me just finish my AMA numbers here, and then I'll show it to you.
Upgrade sticker.
It's got a sticker on the front, white, that says, the kit includes the new longer tail booms and the nylon control horn.
Well, this kit here has a price tag. This is the double voodoo kit, has a price tag of $7.95.
That's it. $6.99 was usually the price. If you guys remember that American Hobby Center, I was getting this is back in the early 80s, because my oldest son was born in 82, and you would have monthly sales. They would give you like a voodoo kit and a Fox 40 Combat for like $59, and it was a double kit. I was buying a couple of those every month, and I was bringing them home and stashing the kits. My wife's going, "Are you insane? What are you buying these things for? You got a whole closet full of these things." I wish I had more of them. But I picked them up in hobby shops for like $5-6 for years, until people figured out they were drying up.
The green box Nobler, when I used to build those, was $6.95.
You got it.
And the McCoy, 35 was $4.95. So for about $12, you could build
flying.
it. Yeah, you could fly.
Yep, you're flying.
Perfect gas tank, except the thing I hated about the Nobler is that you had to build the gas tank because it was so damn narrow. None of the tanks at Vico or Perfect sold.
Yep.
So Sparky, I see you built another voodoo.
Yeah. This one took 1 day. That one took 2 days.
Okay.
Amazing.
So you got the long. So you got the long booms on it.
Yeah, and I got a big. I don't know if you can see that or not.
fuel compartment now?
The big fuel compartment.
Yeah.
That looks nice. Very nice. Wish I
Hey,
could
Al.
build.
Now you'll be able to report on which one turns better.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I got 3 Super Tiger 35s. I got 2 of the G21 35s, and then I got 1 C 35.
Right.
So I'm going to build a slow combat airplane too. I guess I'm going to try some combat at Brodax. I don't know.
Well, you could put the C on the one with the shorter boom. The C's a lighter engine.
Well, then I definitely got to build another one for the other G21.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you take them to Brodax, you can challenge Sam Lonke to a match.
Well, the C would probably be better for speed limit combat also. That's the plain bearing one, correct?
Right?
Yeah.
What size prop do you use on that?
I mean, to do the speed limit,
Yeah.
probably a 9.4.
APC?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could try it, or or a master air screw because they tend to have less pitch. So because
Or I could use a rev up put on backwards.
Yeah, you could do that, or well, with the you also can make a smaller Venturi for it too to slow it down. But you want to run it like a 9.4 to keep the RPMs up so it doesn't die, sag in the turns. If you don't want to be competitive. If you want to be competitive.
Hey, Al.
Yeah, Terry.
I saw the video from last week, and I love that Count Clipper. I've always wanted one.
Oh,
the
yeah.
kit, I think, is a Midwest kit. A couple of my buddies had them with the magnesium speed pan and the vertical mounted motor, and they're really a good flying airplane. I don't know how competitive they are, but they're a real experience to fly.
It's funny.
Be real competitive when you go down through somebody's airplane. Not only will you cut the airplane, you'll cut the motor in half.
Yeah, with 3 ounces of magnesium.
You just keep on doing wingovers until you hit them.
That's it, man. But what a nice plane. Nice kit. For some reason, the vintage combat thing's hitting pretty fast. So there's 4 of them now that's in our area that are and so far 3 are flying. One's in the process of being built. I'd love to see video on that.
Yeah, the one has a KMB 40 on it, and I think he just flew it and clocked it at 105.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one has like a McCoy 35 on it.
I thought you were limited to 35 or 36 of combat.
Yeah, well, he's just sport flying it. So
yeah, sport fly. That's what I do.
Yeah, but mine has the torpedo 35 in it.
Mm-hmm.
But
is that the green head motor?
No, mine's the. No, it's the not the green head. It's just a plain motor.
Oh, plain silver.
Torpedo 40 on it with the rear intake. That'll make it go.
I got a green head I've never tried with the exhaust on the wrong side.
Yeah.
Ain't no good. Too heavy.
Yeah, this one has the exhaust on the other side, wrong side too, but it looks just like a torpedo 40, the 4011. It has the bolts on the front and everything. It's a ball bearing engine, but it's a 35. It's supposed to run pretty good. My friend gave me the plane. He said he doesn't want to fly. He can't fly it anymore. He just comes out to fly stunt and help us out. And so he wants to see it fly. So he gave it to me. He gave another one to my other friend, and he had a kit for one. The other guy got the kit. So it's now we have plenty of Count Clippers.
Boy, they're a beautiful kit.
Yeah.
I followed one on eBay and it surpassed $400.
Yeah. Oh, so. The one kit that he gave the guy, it's like in perfect condition. It's a perfect kit.
These guys must be high to pay that kind of money for a kit. There ain't no way I'd pay that much.
Well, when I had the money, I would have. I went 400, but I got beat out. It went for like 4 1/4. It was insane.
Minnesota Mike just texted me. I'm gonna ask him why he's not online.
You got room for one more.
We'll have room for 2 more here shortly because I got to go to bed. I got a long drive tomorrow.
Terry, that's the Fox 35 stunt you gave me.
Oh yeah,
And then-
excellent, Gerald. Excellent.
Okay.
What's this other one I've got here? I got on eBay recently. You said I could use that just for a slow 35 model, good for the boys. But this one here, is that an early combat engine with the 4-bolt
Yeah.
backplate, or is it just like a sports engine? I'm not sure what
I
model
don't
it is.
know. It could be one of the X models or whatever, but yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
a combat.
It's a combat.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
That'd
Does
be
it
a
have
bit
a restrictor in it? Is there a restrictor in the Venturi?
It looks like there is one in there.
Yeah.
There looks like a metal restrictor in there.
Yep. Yeah, that's a
Yep.
combat.
That's a
You pull
combat.
that out. You pull that out to run pressure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a good running engine.
Yes, it is. Very strong. I wish they still made that one.
Oh, well, there I've got a couple of motors already. I'll try it with the piece pipe then. So yeah, that should be a good
Yeah.
combination.
Yep. I've flown a bunch of Fox 35s with piece pipe and even the 40 and some K&Bs.
Were you
Yeah.
sleeping? Fox
Sorry?
35 is so slow. You'd be sleeping.
Well,
Oh no, but for the boys, for my 2
it's
sons,
for the
it'd be-
trainer. It's for like a
Yeah.
crash resistant trainer.
yeah, I just learn a few patterns and do it with a bit more drama than like I've got them flying a small half A combat model, but there's not much line tension there. With the Fox 35 on, like a Voodoo made with concrete leading edges, it
Yep.
would be a good model for the boys just to practice some inverted and do a few maneuvers.
Yep.
What I thought I'd do, because I haven't flown any fast combat in 50 years, is I'll take that C motor and put it in one of these and run that first and then kind of build up to the faster motor.
Yeah, put that in the one with the short booms.
Yep. Yep.
Well, Minnesota Mike says there's no chat box, and I asked him if he's on a
That's
phone.
not good.
He said, yeah, and so maybe you can't see the chat box
So
on
Al,
telephone.
have you seen a Basta?
Not. Yeah. I saw that you had it on like 2 weeks ago, but no, I
Yeah.
never saw.
Well, I'm going to try to get some video. I've got a larger one too. This is one.
I like the checkerboard on the bottom. That's sharp.
Oh yeah, that's my fighting scheme is the sunburst on the top and checkerboard somewhere on the bottom.
Okay.
And that way, when we're in the mess and a pile on the ground, I know which is mine.
Right. Yeah.
And the nice thing about these is they're already bagged up.
Yeah,
Pretty
that's
much.
one plane I never saw fly. One of our club members built one, and he was supposed to bring it, fall 17 last September, but at the last minute he couldn't come. He built that and a monoboom.
Oh yeah. Well, the Boss is fast. There's no question, and it's much better in the wind than say a Voodoo or a Combat Cat. I think it's. I know it's the elliptical wing.
They look nice. They look really sweet. How about the one? Is it a WOW or something? WOW. I've seen some of the.
That's
I've heard.
Half-fast or the WOW.
I don't have one, but I know what it is.
Yeah, we have a club member flying one of those also, and he has a torpedo 35 on it. It runs really good with a hard tank.
It's a nice looking platform.
It's a big wing, and it sounds really cool on a wing over. With the echo that comes off that wing.
I love it.
It sounds really neat. With the older engine.
Yep.
Barking in it.
And a nice wood prop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live for that sound, that tip breaking the sound barrier and the revving of the old motor. I love it.
Yeah, he built them both. He has the WOW, I think, what was that? Blue Sky Models kitted the WOW. And They had another one too. I forget which one. What was the other one he built? But I don't think that guy kits anymore. Is it? You guys remember Blue Sky Models?
I remember
Yeah,
the
I do.
company, but I never had one of the kits.
Yeah. It was sort of like on the line of an Umland kit. It was really nice and complete and finished real nice.
Haven't seen Walter on the boards lately.
Well, years ago, I had Umland kit the Super Satan. He made something like 30 kits or something like that.
Yes, I remember that kit.
Yeah, I was behind that. I was the push for that.
Oh, unreal. Nice kit.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite 15 size plane so far is a Junior Satan with a Medallion 15 in it.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the guys around here I'm starting to stimulate another group. There's some guys with some 15 motors around, but a lot of K&Bs and Fox 15s and Enya 15s, but no Cox.
Okay.
Did I hear Medallion 15?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Yep.
Click on your model.
Now that's my friend's, one of my friend's new crazes, flying the Fox 15, the old style, the one that they hurl.
Yep.
And he has one on a Junior Ringmaster, and he has another one on a Shark 15, and then he has a Junior Flight Streak with a McCoy 19 on it, and you wouldn't believe how nice that McCoy 19 runs.
Oh, I know. That's what's on this Bassa here. It purrs like just beautiful.
Right.
You guys
What a
speak
nice
better
sound
about
for a
McCoys than most
medium-sized
people.
motor.
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah,
speak
here it
better
is
about
here.
McCoys than most people on the forums. I
And
always
this
hear
one's
about how
fairly new.
bad.
Uh-huh.
Fairly new. It was in the crystal case. I don't know. When I found out my wife had cancer, it freaked me out. So I just started building shit.
Oh, okay.
And this was all traced out on wood, so I cut it all with an X-Acto except for the motor mounts
Okay.
and the plywood parts.
That engine looks like it was never run.
Well, it's been run about 4 times. That's it.
Okay.
That's new. It was in the sleeve and the crystal case and everything.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Came with the little wrench. I mean, everything.
now you flying them on 60-foot lines or 52?
Yes, on 60.
Okay.
Yep. And I'm flying my big stuff on 70s.
Okay.
So, Mark, is that the Acromaster that you've got with the Medallion 15 on it?
Yes, it is. So
Yeah, looks nice.
Oh, that's a beautiful flying airplane.
Yeah. That one hasn't had its maiden flight yet, has it?
no, I have to do the fuel tank, and that's about it. It's ready to go.
Nice.
Good.
I'll be right back.
Sticky little motor, very lightweight.
How's the Stuka looking, Tom?
Oh, I think I'm going to be ready for paint. I'm going to be busy this weekend and a couple days in the next week, so I don't know when I'll get back to painting, but I think it's pretty close. Been fooling with it for a week.
What paint scheme are you going to use, Tom?
It's going to be kind of like a khaki brown with green camo, and it'll have a snake on the side of the fuselage.
And you know what the nice thing about that paint job is?
What?
It'll cost $3.
No, actually, it'll only cost me it's 50 cents for an ounce. So I'll probably end up only about $1.50.
This is the acrylic paint.
Yeah. Yep.
As long as you fuel proof them, they work well. my kids have used acrylic paint on some of their models, and I used it in the past, but I've gone to the acrylic enamel, and then I just go over it with epoxy for a fuel proofer. I've done that quite a bit. It's very practical.
Yeah, the acrylic enamel's fairly fuel proof anyway, as long as you let it cure long enough before you expose it. I still like to do everything in front of the wing with some extra clear fuel proof.
Yeah, my clear coat, I just use clear dope.
Yeah, as long as you dry it, as soon as it gets raw fuel on it, then it's kind of okay. But that acrylic lacquer is not fuel proof at all. You'll be doing that stuff. So
No,
you have,
but I mean, you know what? Don't I get my fuel proofing when I use the clear dope?
Oh,
they call it fuel proof, but it's not seriously fuel proof. It's fuel resistant.
Yeah.
In other words, that have to go like Nason or PPG and get an automotive clear coat.
Even if you just use it for nose area, it'll protect your nose and tank if you get raw fuel on it. But I prefer to use some automotive 2-pack on it around the main fuselage to protect it, and then you can use just like a clear over the wings, especially the inboard wing and tail. But
Automotive clear coat is really, really heavy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, urethane too.
Yeah,
Sure is.
I mean, that's what I do. I do auto body work, collision work. So, so I use
acrylic. This acrylic, that water base that I use is real super light.
You guys were talking about McCoys. You ever see a McCoy like this one?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, that's the 20 series McCoy.
No. It was at the Series 21 liner, Series 21 head in a lightning bolt case. It's called a McGass 40.
Ah.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, I did the same thing. What's that, a McCoy 35?
This is a 35.
Yeah.
This one here is a 40. This is an RC Bluehead 40.
Well, if you have the McCoy 35 lightning bolt that has the fenced liner, you can buy the piston and ring for the Series 21 and use that liner and put it in there.
Here's a brand new. I mean, I don't think it's ever been run. It's I don't know, it might have been 40. I guess it was an RC because their carburetor can go in there or whatever.
Oh, that's anodized black?
I think it's just spray painted myself.
Oh, okay.
I had the box for that, but I threw it out. And of course, I got these fishing weights. I'm going to sell these on eBay. Here's a dual plug 61 Merco.
Oh,
I remember those.
Here's a 49 Merco.
yeah. They're nice and light. Neat engine, not very powerful from what I've heard, but they're very light.
Here's another 61 Merco. Another 49 Merco RC job.
Yeah.
Damn, you're up to your ears in Mercos.
Yeah, the biggest engine I have is a 46.
There's another 61 Merco. They run just like Super Tigers.
Yeah. So what did you get from them, Tiger, Sparky? What was the decider between?
There's a McCoy.
What'd you say, Gerald?
Oh,
Sorry, you obviously opted to use Super Tiger instead of Merco. What decided, or what made the decision to use Super Tiger over Merco? Because they are very similar timing, similar weight.
The weight. Here's a Super Tiger 60. Here's a Super Tiger 60. There's 2 Super Tigers in my other, my Monado and my oh shit, Junar XL.
Have you got any of the very early Mirkos? The very early Mirko had a lighter case. It was like another 50 grams lighter. It didn't have the front bosses on the case.
Here's a Super Tiger G21 46. And that airplane there is a George Aldrich Super Tiger 46. I think I'm going to sell these on eBay, these Mirkos.
Yeah, collectors will go wild for those.
Mm.
And I got 2 Satos.
4 strokes.
Yeah. This is a 72, and then I got an FA 80 right there that one of the guys sent me. Then I got 2 more. I got a G21 35 on that one, a G21 35 at Jerry's office in Dayton, and then a C35 will be there Monday. I'm engined out.
Yeah.
The bad thing was I was on eBay today looking for more.
There's
Hey,
a guy in our club that has the C35 on a Voodoo, and it runs. He has it tamed down a little bit. Running it around 90 miles an hour. It's a good running engine.
yeah, strong running motor.
Yeah.
The
Consistent.
Super Tigers were always nice combat motors, and the little ones I had a G15, and that was an amazing motor. Ran it on crankcase pressure, and on the bigger ones I had the X21. That again was a really nice motor. It was a lot more powerful than my X21, than the KMB 21, the Schnell one. The Super Tiger had the PDP ports, and it went like stink. It was an amazing motor. But I only used the smaller ones on combat models. I had a G21 35, the ball raced one with the stunt engine, and I had that on a Sig Mustang, and that was a nice motor.
Mm-hmm.
I almost got involved in buying Russian motors today.
Oh.
Combat motors.
What, the 15s?
Yeah.
Which one?
I think it begins with an M. It's on eBay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that. So I'm not an expert on Russian stunt motors, though.
Yeah, the M doesn't ring a bell, but
who makes Cyclone and Fora? Is that Russian?
Say that again?
Cyclone and Fora, are those Russian?
Yeah, Russian or Ukraine. Yeah, but
yeah, Ukraine. I think that is. Yeah, Ukrainian.
Well, they got that one on eBay right now. It's a Ukrainian combat motor, very crude looking.
But they polish up nicely, man. Believe me.
The Forest sort of, became the engine of choice. There was an expensive one called the AKM that was supposed to be the most powerful one, with running all the restrictions, that they have. Was it 6mm exhaust outlet and a.
Well, this motor here has the 2 exhausts, one on top and one on the bottom, and they come out the back.
I think that was a Typhoon, they call that. I think that's a Typhoon. That's an older vintage F2D engine.
Yes,
yeah, that's a cool looking engine, but I never saw one run. But there's for a while there was the top ones were Profi, Fora, and Cyclone, and now and then there was a Zalp also, but now the Zalp, the only one that's really a Cyclone, he's not making engines anymore. I think they said he's got old and it's not doing it anymore, and you can still get the Fours are the one that's the most available and that you can get parts for. And then
the thing is that I can't do any good in stunt. I gotta try combat.
Yeah,
Good in scale at the Nats.
I tell you, combat's no picnic either. The guys that are left are really, really good. I mean, it just to go from when you're starting to fly against like Phil Cartier and Roy Glenn and Luis Lopez. I mean, or you know, those guys are so good. It's unbelievable how good they are. You
I
know,
met Roy Glenn at the May contest. Ken Cook told me to be sure and meet him, so I sat down and ate breakfast with him one morning.
yeah,
He
no,
seemed
he's a
like a
great
good
guy. Yeah.
And
Hey, I'm
then,
gonna get out of here and get to bed, guys. I'll catch you later.
All right, Tom.
okay, man.
All right,
Take it
Tom.
easy.
Bye.
I was okay.
Don't forget to
Oh.
wash that shirt. That's the same one you had on the other night. I can still see the same handprints on it.
It's a shop shirt. That's what I have. Shop
Yeah.
shirts.
What about your bathrobe? What happened to your bathrobe, Tom? Oh, he's gone, isn't he?
He's gone.
Okay. Oh
What
well.
was that combat plane he was holding? I wanted to ask him before he.
I don't know. It said something on the bottom of the wing, like it might have said "slut." I'm not sure, but he
Well,
propped it up. I was about to mention it too, but he put it away.
yeah.
We're running.
That
up
looked
on
like that looked like
12.
something from the 50s.
Wasn't the Spectrum and the Winder the same? You know, pretty
Yeah.
much the same airplane.
Yeah,
Almost the same. I've got a Spectrum. I'll show it to you on Monday. I've got a Spectrum in a box by Dumas.
Yeah, I was looking for. I don't know. I just want to do some nostalgia combat, so I was on eBay looking at different combat wings, and they had a Spectrum on there, and I thought that was pretty close to a Winder.
It's a very similar airplane. They're real good flyers.
I mean, if you go, do you know the Barry Baxter site?
No.
No.
If you go on Barry's, I heard he's sick. It's a shame. I hope he's all right and the site stays up. But if you go on the Barry Baxter combat site, it has just almost every combat plane ever made, and he sells plans for them. And
If you go on the Outer Zone, you can download them for free.
yeah, well, but he has it all listed. He used to have it, the designers, the specs, and all that stuff like that. But you could see the actual outlines.
Yeah, I got a DVD with thousands of plans on it, and it has combat, all the combat stuff.
Did you get that DVD from New Zealand?
I don't know where I got it. I don't remember. I can look it up. It's in my desk in the house.
But if you get a chance, check out that Barry Baxter site. It
I'm
has
gonna
everything
write
alphabetical
that down.
order.
One other modification I did on this particular Voodoo is, if you look, the engine is set back into the leading edge a 1/4 inch.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Could have went back a little more, probably.
Well, it's going to fly great just like that. So I wouldn't.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah.
If you get back any further, it becomes a pusher and it's not legal. Oh, teasing. So I did some weights on some of the engines I have, and the Fox 40's 10.5 ounce. The Fox 40X, which is the combat, is 10.8. The Brodak 40 is 7.8 ounces.
Yeah, it's a light engine.
And I wish I could more of those. The Little Evolution 36 that flies beautiful is 10.6. And that's with the tongue muffler, prop, and spinner. All of those are
my
with
little helicopter motor would work at OS 32F.
I don't know. It might wind up good.
They really scream.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've flown some chopper.
Yeah, the Brodak 40 is like the best replacement for a Fox 35.
Oh, there's no. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the close in weight and more power. For the Nobler. That's what the guys here usually either run the Fox 35 or the Nobler. Or the Brodak.
Yeah, I took mine and little micro files, and I've got it shaved off about, I don't know, 10 grams. But I like my engines polished because it's easier to keep them clean. Like I flew 3 planes today, and when I get home, I pop the motors out and I wiped everything down. And being as a couple of these planes are new, I look for loose monocoat and re-iron it down. Sometimes I'll put a piece of that clear packing tape on an area that gets a lot of mess and, you know, gunk sprayed.
Yeah,
But,
no flying for me this weekend. It's gonna be in
yeah,
the 30s.
nasty weather. I get it.
Yeah, 30s tomorrow, and then they say tomorrow night 3 to 5 inches of snow.
That's perfect flying weather when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Not much
But
stops
we
you when
had
you
the clearest blue skies today. It was just beautiful.
Our spring
I
weather
did go down to the
today,
beach
too.
with my sloper, and I'm flying that FPV with my slope sailplane, and I've got a Dave's Aircraft Works 126 Schweitzer. It's about a 60-inch wingspan, Epifoam. It's got wrinkles, Gerald. You know what I mean. It's epi. Flies good though. When it's flying around, you don't notice that wrinkle.
the
When
wrinkles.
it gets close, that fuselage is so ugly. I'll show it to you. It is so ugly. But what a good flyer. Now I've got this camera kind of duct taped with matching tape. At least I'm using red duct tape on a red sail plane. But
Well,
that
there are a lot of-
FPV, man, that's, I don't know. It's almost like I was soaring up the beach today with the pelicans, but I was passing them up because they are able to fly at a slower speed than I'm able to go. But it's amazing. And I get up the beach so far that my buddy Steve says, Terry, where are you? Man, I'm just up the beach cruising. I got to turn around and come back. It's just like you're in it. It's just amazing.
When I was flying last Sunday, a flock of geese came over the circle, came like within 15 feet, over the top. With I was doing maneuvers, and my friends are yelling. That we're shocked that all the geese were coming so close to the plane.
No, it's incredible. Yeah, you can get bird strike easy.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I had one of my bigger contest gliders last spring actually attacked by one of these ospreys that had a nest, and it was the male, and he evidently, when I got to the glider field, there were 2 crashed gliders. When I went over to one of the guys, he goes, I don't know. He says, I think some bird attacked my kid's glider. And he's watching the football game on his tablet. His kid's flying his gentle lady. So I put my glider up, and I was just off the toe, and this raptor came out of nowhere and ripped the tail off my glider. The only thing held the tail on was the control wire. That was it.
Yeah.
What was it, an osprey or something?
Yeah, it was an osprey.
You should have been at Brodak when all the cicadas were out.
I saw a picture of Dan Banjock covered with them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was racing in a circle, and I was covered with them too. But I was when you start the engines without mufflers, they come out of the trees like crazy. And I was launching a combat plane for my friend, and right before I let it go, like 3 of them go right through the prop. So
Oh yeah.
I was there that year.
Yeah, and I got all the cicadas. I'm glad I had my glasses on. That's all I got to say.
Wow.
Shredded.
That was
cicada,
2016, wasn't it?
They were all over the place. It was unreal. And a lot of guys were scared of them. Some guys crashed their plane they would land on your hand. They wouldn't bite you or anything, but he was flying his plane, and it got on his hand and got nervous and put it right in the ground.
They're just looking for a place to shed.
Yeah. But yeah, when we're racing, actually Banjack I was flying against him, and every time one would land on somebody's back, you would just knock it off for them, But when they were on your head and they start going under your glasses, that gets a little scary.
I was working in the top one night, and one flew in the door and bounced off of my overhead light a couple of times and landed in my hair. and got all stuck into my hair. I couldn't get him out for anything, and he started screaming, going on top of my head like that. Man, I didn't think I was going to get him out of there for a while. Finally, he got out and went and flew into the light again.
Yeah.
Maybe went back out the door or something.
Yeah, I never seen anything like that. That was really an experience. I remember when we were driving up to Brodak, we're getting within like 5 miles of it, and we're saying like, "What the heck's all this stuff falling? You know, all this stuff falling out of the trees." You thought it was like, like the pinwheels or something from the maple trees.
Mhm.
Yeah, they dropped
And,
those little single helicopter blades that come
Yeah.
flying down.
And that's what it looked like, or it looked like. Then we're saying, and then we thought maybe it was flying grasshoppers, but they were coming out of the trees, not off the ground. Right.
You know what's worth than cicadas, and I've only seen them in Florida. That's love bug.
Oh, I heard about that.
Oh, forget it. I got those.
Yeah, I haven't.
What do they look like?
Two
They're
black
just a
bugs
little
stay
mushy.
together end to end with red eyes. So you got two bugs butt to butt and 4 red eyes, and they fill your windshield and radiator. They're just terrible.
Mating, I guess.
Yeah, once they attach, that's it. Yeah, they'll plug up your radiator real quick.
We got a whole lot of crickets here. End of summer, all the crickets have come out of the ground at that time of year, and they're just plagues of crickets around us, but we're in a rural area, so you're sort of used to it.
Gone a little crooked. Oh, well.
Crickets make good fish bait.
Yeah, we fish for everything here. Well, we got a lot of birds, and they come and wipe out these. Like they get mole crickets in your yard here, and they come around and want to spray. I go, no, I don't use spray, man. Well, what about the mole crickets? Well, today the egrets were in the front yard for about 20 minutes. No more mole crickets. They're gone. They ate them all.
Well, guys, I gotta go. I gotta get up early.
All right, Sparky.
Well, good job on those combats.
10 minutes here too.
Yeah, nice looking.
Hey,
combat planes.
I got a message for you from Wally. Wally and I are building combats, and we're coming for Sparky.
Okay.
It's going to be the gray hair
like
combat guys. And
Looks
Al's
like a lot of guys
invited
are gonna
too.
be going for him.
Where's
But
Wally?
Al's got to
And why
fly
hasn't he
with
been
one eye
visiting with us?
closed.
So when Sparky goes to Brodak, you announce that it's gonna be a big event.
Well, we're going to have it
Everybody's
videoed
coming
many
for you.
ways.
Hey, Terry.
Well,
Yes,
I
sir.
got my Osmo.
Your Osmo.
Yeah, Osmo video camera.
Oh, there you go. Excellent. Oh, yeah.
We can do slow motion, 100 frames a second,
Yeah, excellent.
4K. So
Love it.
We'll see how that works out.
You can get some snapshots and do some combat T-shirts for the summer.
Check out the T-shirts though on that chicken wings.
Yep, chicken wings. Yep.
It's cool. It's really cool. The cartoon's gist is there's a bubble above the cartoon's head. It says the secret to control line is firmly planting your feet, and it's dragging him across the field.
I love it.
Like me and my Magnum. Taking me for a walk.
All right, guys, I'll post a link to the T-shirts when this wraps up. And I'll see you Monday in Dayton.
All right, man.
Okay.
All right, Sparky. Take care.
Ding hao.
See ya.
Right.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Well, Terry, where is Wally, and how come he hadn't been visiting with?
Wally had some issue with his camera, and then I tried getting a hold of him last night, and he had just had some dental surgery, so he'll be. But Wally is like a cookie jar full of knowledge.
I enjoyed having him around.
Oh, he's just full of knowledge, man.
Yeah, but he went AWOL back in the early summer, and I was hoping everything was okay with him. But
yeah,
I know he's
well,
got.
he was real busy, I know, with his family and helping his son get relocated in a new shop where he's got a very successful off-road motorcycle tune business. And yeah, so he's been busy.
Him talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good.
But
glad.
we're putting our heads together on a couple things, and as soon as you get caught up on the Cardinal, let me know, and I'll start my wing.
I've put 6 hours into the Cardinal since Sunday.
Good on you, buddy.
I was going to talk about it some tonight, but we had enough going on anyway, so I'll save it for later.
We can always meet over at Wink Wink Nudge Nudge.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's wrap it up then, because it's almost 12. So this was a good show.
Okay.
And we didn't have to struggle too hard to get started tonight, so that's good. A lot of times it takes about an hour to get going, but we started out rocking and rolling. And y'all all have a good weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday. And I know we had some YouTube watchers, and so we appreciate you guys. So between now, fair winds, tight lines, and we'll see you later. Good night.
Good night.
All right. Good night, guys.
No.